make a difference, right? I think everybody and anybody, like it's funny, when the expression "keep up with the Joneses," where they have this, they have that. Do you have it? Do you not have it? Or when you talk about famous actors or people with a lot of money or whatever, I don't get hung up on those sort of things. But when I hear, especially in local communities, how this person or that person spent so much time trying to make a difference and was dedicated, that's where I just go, oh God, what am I doing with my life, right? It's like, so those are the moments. So I think, and I think most people do try to make a difference. It's just, you just have to have the determination to really keep trying at it. So I think that's something along those lines.
Welcome to the Break Free podcast. I am your host, David Mancella. As I started this podcast 3 years ago, we started interviewing high-level entrepreneurs, senior leaders of multinational corporations. And we keep doing that in order to show you guys that this country, especially USA and Canada, are built on the free economies. But in this year, we have been getting a lot of guests that are running not-for-profit organizations that are actually adding massive value to the countries in the free world. And it's beautiful because when you have a free economy, you also have people that have the attitude of start helping out unconditionally, so that the profits from corporations that are generating funds can be redirected to needs that the society always needs. So it's a great pleasure for me to have with us Ken. Ken, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, David. I really appreciate you having me.
Ken, can you tell me your full name, where do you live right now, and what do you do for a living?
Okay. My name is Ken Baker. I'm the CEO of Glasswing International, and I live in San Salvador, El Salvador right now. I spend a good amount of time in New York City, but live down here.
So as everybody can hear, he has no accent because he's not actually from El Salvador. Where were you born, Ken?
I was actually born in Germany, but grew up in right outside of New York in Connecticut. So, yeah.
So it's, when I see people that are expats in third world countries, I am not surprised if they are in Costa Rica or in Indonesia, right? But when I hear somebody that went to live to El Salvador, up to recently, El Salvador was the worst country in the world to live based on the violence, the gang violence that they had. So tell me your story. What are you doing there, Ken?
Well, I guess where I would start with that is my wife is Salvadoran. So, but that's not really, there's a more natural reason why I ended up down here. I started working in the private sector, and then I worked in the public sector, and then in the nonprofit sector. So it's kind of my skewing. And so I was always kind of looking to try to help out in the developing world somewhere, and was working at a nonprofit called AmeriCares outside of New York City for a number of years. And we were providing aid around the world. And what I wanted to do was figure out a way to create an organization in the developing world that could provide help and support that a U.S. organization could from outside their country, so from outside the region. So we wanted to create something within the region, a nonprofit organization. So that's how I ended up in El Salvador, and we chose El Salvador because my wife is from El Salvador originally.
Wow. And I guess that's where a lot of the need is actually, it was currently, right? What does your not-for-profit do? What do you focus on?
Glasswing focuses on education and health, and also trying to mobilize volunteers to become positive role models and get in the lives, become an important part of youth's lives, right? We hear a lot of times, there's a lot of different methods to try to make a difference, but in the lives of kids, having a caring adult in their lives is one of the most important things. So we focus a lot on that through education and after-school clubs led by volunteers and professional staff. And then we also work in health. We work in mainly in mental health. We've been active over the last 10 years or so in really trying to, in the region, and when we talk about the region, we have offices throughout Central America in 6 countries, which include El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Panama, Costa Rica, and Nicaragua, and also offices in Colombia, Mexico, and the Dominican Republic, as well as in New York City, where we have these programs. And so with mental health, we really try to break down the stigma that it carries, that people to admit that they have mental health issues and to actually try to understand them and to seek help. We're really trying to find ways to do that for more and more people, as especially since the pandemic, it's really intensified mental health challenges that most of us, I think most of us experience these days.
That's incredible. Ken, mental health is so important, especially if you want to raise a law-abiding citizen and somebody that will contribute to society. If you don't identify these issues at a young age, it could be catastrophic. And I tell you, because I have experienced that myself. I actually was born with ADHD and it got more intensified with childhood trauma. And I didn't even know that I had the condition until last year. And I was almost divorced. I separated from my 30-year marriage wife because of it. I almost lost my main business. I was a wreck. And so I had finally accepted that I needed to go see a psychoanalyst, a psychiatrist. But it took a lot of convincing. One of my business buddies, he was an expert on ADHD, and 2-3 years ago, he told me, "You have ADHD, go get yourself checked." And I'm like, "You are crazy, I have nothing." And since I got diagnosed, I recovered my marriage, we're flourishing, my business is thriving.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Imagine if I would have known when I was in high school.
Where did you go to high school? Where did you grow up?
Guatemala, just besides El Salvador.
Guatemala, wow. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that must have been difficult. Wow.
Right.
Amazing that, just a diagnosis and an approach, how much it can change someone's life. Amazing.
And just being aware, when you have the awareness that you have tendencies that are not right, then you can actually correct your behavior, or you can do certain patterns in your activities to alleviate the conditions. For me, ADHD actually wasn't a disease. The reason why I'm extremely successful is because of that too. Because when I focus on something, everything goes to the blur line until I actually accomplish whatever I want to accomplish. I have that laser focus. But the problem is that somebody could be dying behind me and I don't pay attention.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah. Very, very interesting. Very, very challenging. Yeah. So that mental health is a big part of our work, and we work with governments, mainly in the Northern Triangle, Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, but also Mexico and Colombia as well, with the governments and also with migrants, the challenges that they face. And so very active in that space, training police, caregivers, first aid, doctors, nurses, teachers in mental health, and how to make it a part of their curriculums, their daily work, their trainings, or however to include it.
So how many people do you impact a year then?
It depends on how you look at it. This program in mental health itself, it's a 5-year program. This particular one, and we're trying to impact 9 million people over 5 years just with that program. But in our after-school programming, or what I call in our education programs, where we have schools, we work in public schools. We work in about 120 public schools, and to really change their 12 o'clock comes around, the schools are empty, right? And then what we're trying to do is extend the school day through after school programming, through positive role models through competitions that these kids can represent their school, themselves, their school, their communities, and really bring the community in there to volunteer. Also, local businesses, corporations, and so, we impacted probably about 25,000, 30,000 kids there yearly in that program. Yeah.
So between volunteers and full-time staff, how many people that you guys are?
We have about, staff-wise, full-time staff, we have about 700 people, and volunteers, the ones that come weekly, we probably have 2,000, 1,500 to 2,000 that do once a week with us in our programs, and then once or twice a week. And then, of course, we have volunteers that will work on a project, very short-term projects too. So
that's incredible, Ken. And how many people did you start with when you founded the?
We started 15 years ago or so with three people, and very small budget. We didn't start with any like endowment or anybody going, hey guys, do this, and we're here to support. We started small, and we've been able to build up by providing value, right? Making a difference, help people make a difference, but providing value specifically to what people want to, for themselves, in the way of trying to help.
That's incredible, Ken. Like, that story alone is amazing. When you say provide value, that's how the free world works. If you add value through your corporation, then you start making profits.
Exactly.
That's the essence of the free world. And so you're applying that into the non-for-profit world, which is beautiful, right?
Yeah, it's important because, in the end, it makes our work more sustainable if you can connect with the value that a foundation or a company or a person wants. If you can really connect with what they want to see, and show them why it's the value that's providing, they're gonna stick around. It's much harder to keep people involved supporting Glasswing if you just make a case like, hey, help, please help. You're gonna get someone once, maybe twice, but then they're probably gone. But if you can find a way to connect and show them a value that they want to see, you could have someone for a very long time, and a company for a very long time, or a government, governments where, as well, who want to see either, reading rates, literacy rates go up. They want to see kids having more employability skill sets. If they want to see less migration, where can we, with our work and our goals, provide the value?
That's wonderful, Ken. Tell me, what was your breakthrough moment? Because from 3 people to 700 people, 99% of the world will never be able to achieve that in their lifetime. Yeah. What was your breakthrough? What was that pivot time where you said, I think we're going to grow big?
It's funny because the breakthrough was just having the patience and the determination to believe, right? And when you start something, in my experience, is when you start something small and want to grow it, you constantly hit walls. And my first 5 or 6 years at Glasswing, I probably wanted to quit every week. For whatever reason, it was just hard. It's hard to keep the belief going and everything. And I think that a breakthrough that really came for us was where the U.S. government saw value in what we were doing and started to fund programs through us, but also invested money in us to strengthen our processes, our ability to manage money, to control it and spend it well. And they really helped us create a back office and a lot of the things that come, that you don't think of, that you need to have in place to manage, millions of dollars. You need those. And I think when they saw us as a viable partner, it really gave us credibility, and also really helped our organization flourish and get to another level.
And I guess once you get somebody like the U.S. government helping you out, it also gives you the credibility to go after bigger corporations that will want to help out, right?
Yeah, because in the development space, as long as they're doing it for the right reasons, right? They have a lot of expertise to put behind you, and they interact a lot, obviously, with other governments, the local governments we work with, you know, a lot of different credible agencies and organizations and companies that allow us to find more support for our work. Yeah.
What was the transition time? Because you not only started a non-for-profit out of nothing, you also moved countries to a place that is completely different from the States.
Yeah.
How was that transition?
Well, you know, it's funny, when we first came down to El Salvador, it wasn't necessarily to start an organization, right? It was just to see where we might be able to make a difference in what was going on. And then we realized, wow, the salaries were so low. You know, two things happened. Once, we saw a niche where we could really make a difference and, you know, again, provide value. But the other was, you know, if I'm going to make almost no money, I may as well make it do exactly what I want to do and not for somebody else. So, you know, the first year or two were difficult. There's a different culture, obviously, than Connecticut is. But, you know, it's where my passion is trying to help, and I love Latin culture, and you know, we've had a really nice time here in El Salvador.
That's beautiful. What a way! I migrated backwards. I went to Canada from Guatemala,
Yeah.
so you went south, I went north, right? But the shock is the same, right?
Yeah. When did you get up to Canada, and why? Why did you?
1991.
Okay.
I had recently graduated from computer science, and my brother came to Canada to finish his university degrees. And after he finished, he started a business and went really fast, really well. And so it started to bloom, and he needed help with computer science so that he could process customers faster. So he offered me a job on writing software program for doing his invoices. This is 1991, right? So remember that there's no internet, right? No, like, people that used software back then were like large corporations like Toys R Us or, you know, large banks, not a little startup business.
Yeah.
So I went there, got the job with my brother. I applied to university again because I realized that I couldn't get a job with my degree from Guatemala. And the rest is history. I graduated from computer science over here, and then I just kept going, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
But I tell you the truth, it was a blessing, because the country was going through, Guatemala was in a civil war for 36 years. Salvador was too.
Yeah.
And it was devastating.
Yeah.
My brother got killed in the war in 1984, my older brother. So it wasn't easy. I mean, when people say war, like, I was born in the war. So if you grow up in a war zone, you don't know how bad it is until you go to another country and you realize, oh my God, this is incredible.
How interesting. My God. Right? Yeah. I bet. I mean, I can only imagine. Yeah. Crazy.
Like you think, for example, that if a house exploded because somebody threw a bomb at it and 5 people died, you will think that that's normal, right? And you know how to navigate that situation. And then you come to Toronto, it's like, oh my God, this is so peaceful. What's going on here? Actually, at the beginning, I thought everybody was dead, you know, because they were so quiet and kind, and, you know, like, I'm like, so do you mean I don't have to look back to see if somebody wants to kill me or somebody wants to rob me?
Interesting.
It was a beautiful shock.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful shock. Exactly. Yeah.
Right. No, I am blessed for sure. I am blessed. And that's why I'm doing this podcast, Ken, because at the end of the day, you know, I am a man of faith. You know, I follow Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior, and He has opened the door for me dramatically. And I came to Canada with $50 with a hope. Of course, I had a job offer, so it was a lot easier than just landing here and not knowing anybody. Mm-hmm. But it was hard, Ken. It was very hard. And now that the Lord allowed me to have enough financial stability where I can dedicate my life to give back, that's what I do all day. I have 2 podcasts. I have a Christian YouTube channel too. And all I want to do is expose people like you in a beautiful way, so that, you know, the rest of the audience knows that if there is something in their heart that they know is going to change the world, especially in the non-for-profit world, giving unconditionally. That's what I want to do. I want to inspire people through the lives of Ken.
Yeah.
So that they actually go ahead and do something positive, because at the end of the day, we have one life.
Yeah,
that's true. Life goes by so fast, right?
It's so important. It's so important. And the thing about trying to make a difference is it's not easy, and you gotta fight through some, the things that you wouldn't expect to make a difference. But the key is to keep the determination and keep going, and because otherwise you just go back to, I'd like to make a difference, and you keep talking about it, right? And then getting to action is not that easy. And
But at the same time, though, Ken, I find that, don't get me wrong. When I made my first $1 million, it felt amazing. But then 6 months later, I felt the same as I was before. So I kept going, right? So I was always thinking, I have to reach something else, economically speaking, to feel the way I felt. But the more I grew economically, the less the satisfaction became. So then I'm like, what's going on? This is endless. And it wasn't until I decided to give back unconditionally that my heart started filling with joy. See? So for you, it must be so fulfilling when you see the impact that you're making. I mean, come on, 700 full-time people. You have more than 5 countries getting blessed, and you can see the impact just by, mental health in Latin America, especially in Central America. Nobody talks about that.
Yeah, I know.
You know why? Because they don't have money to go to a psychologist.
There have to be ways to address it. It's true. And and you just see how much need there is out there. There's definitely no shortage of trying to make a difference. That can be difficult as well, right? I mean, as you see, how much can we get done? So
that's beautiful. What led you to because you were in the private markets before, right?
Private sector. Yep. I was in the private sector. I've worked at different companies like IBM and Snapple and in advertising, and I was always kind of just mediocre, and I was for 10, 12 years I worked in the private sector, and I was like, why am I just average? And finally I got out and I started working in the public sector, but then the nonprofit sector, and then I realized it was because I wasn't really where I wanted to succeed and everything. So I really found it, and it's amazing how long it took me to realize that I was needed to be in the nonprofit sector. It took a long time. It actually took I was working for Snapple, and we were bought out by Cadbury Schweppes, and they wanted me to move, and I didn't want to move. And at that point, I just took a big chance to go to the nonprofit sector, and I'm glad I did.
And that's where you found your freedom. That's why this podcast is called the Break Free Podcast, because it's about how do you break free into a life of fulfillment, right?
Yeah.
Because then, when you wake up every morning, you want to go to work. You want to do whatever it is that you're applying yourself to do. But if you're in a place just to make a living, what a way to live life, to waste life, isn't it?
Yeah. There was on the New York City subway, there was an advertisement, and it talks about how a consistent paycheck can kill your soul, right? It's like if you find a way to make a living, and that's not easy, but you get comfortable with it and you accept that, there's a chance you might not also be doing something else, because it will take a chance, it will take a risk, and so I think that when that was a break free moment for me. That when I was at Snapple, to be honest with you, I was the nonprofit job was going to pay me 30% less money, but I was supposed to get a buyout from Snapple, right? So it made the decision easier. It's like, I can take a 30% pay cut because I'm getting a buyout for them merging with Cadbury and everything. But what happened was Snapple came back and said, hey, we found a way that you keep your job in New York. And I said, so what does that mean? I lose my buyout if I leave? And they said, yeah. So
Oh,
I had to make the real decision and take a 30% pay cut and make a shift over the nonprofit sector without a support net, right? That made it so. It's amazing to look back on that where I said, screw it, I'm out anyway, right? And then I'm going to do this. And it really was one of those, it was really definitely a moment where I was like, wow, I did what I wanted to do, you know, and I look back on it and it was like, of course, you know, but at the time you're like, you know, it's very real to go in a whole new industry. And so, yeah.
I'm so glad you found it at the right time. You know how many people I know that they are just going to a job hoping to retire?
Yeah.
That's gotta be the worst life
Yeah.
scenario, you know?
It's hard. It's hard. Yeah.
You know, a buddy of mine, one of my best friends, he was like a senior leadership in technology for multinational corporations. And he started to feel that, you know, like he started to feel like my life is not adding value. I mean, I have a beautiful lifestyle. I go on vacations 1 month a year. I go to Europe. I ski down the Alps. But at the end of the day, I know that what I'm doing is this much of adding value. So he sat down with his wife and they realized we got to take a big pay cut and do what we want. So he actually quit from this job and he became a senior leader in technology for United Way.
Wow.
And his life changed. It's very similar to you, but without that risk, because you actually move a country and you started your own thing. But for him, he's making, you know, probably half of what he was doing before, but his life is so fulfilled now.
Yeah. That's a nice story. Yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy.
If you had a time machine and you can go back and talk to the 30-year-old version of yourself, what would you tell that kid?
It's an interesting thing. I mean, I would tell that kid, and I would tell myself right now, if I was 80 years old looking at someone in his 50s, is not to worry so much about different things and live in the now, right? And then I think we all get hung up on, and it's frustrating. We just get stuck inside our own heads about different things that and just really try to enjoy the people around us and you know, I think that's probably the main thing that I would say to my 30-year-old self. And you know, as long as you're doing what you want to do and you really are trying to make a positive impact, I mean, have more positive and negative. I mean, and I tell this to myself, but it doesn't usually work, is to not take life so seriously, you know, and that's really hard for me not to do. And I used to be so much less serious, you know, in my 20s, but now anyway. So yeah, I think that's where I would go with that.
That's a beautiful answer. Don't take life so seriously and just enjoy the day. When we are younger, we think we live forever, and so that you put yourself all these high-level goals, and you stop enjoying what you have already. You stop being thankful, and then that's when anxiety kicks in. That's where depression kicks in.
Yeah.
When you start living in the future, either you're afraid that you're not going to get there, or you're afraid that you're going to lose what you have, and then you stop being thankful, and boom, before you know, I'm like, why am I so anxious? Why I cannot go to bed?
I know. Yeah, and you know, there's a cartoon that I saw where they showed a dog sitting next to a man. And the thought bubble, the bubble above the dog, was just him on the park bench with the man. And the man's thought bubble was all these different things going on in his life, in the world, in the future. And just look at the dog; he's living in the now. You know, he's really just enjoying the moment. My God, how nice that would be!
Right. You know, this moment. And by the way, I'm going to say this story, Ken, because it doesn't mean not to have goals. It doesn't mean not to achieve more. It doesn't mean not to have a better future. I interviewed this guy this morning. He didn't finish high school. He got a dishwasher job at 16 years old as his birthday present because he wanted to buy a car. So his dad, instead of giving him the car, he got him a job as a dishwasher. He didn't finish high school. And he's been responsible for growing restaurant chains from like 1 to 500, from 10 employees to 8,000 employees. He helped Starbucks go from 250 stores to 20,000 stores.
Wow, that's
And
awesome.
if you look at the guy, like, especially in the food industry, so like in the restaurant industry, is very hard. The margins are so little.
Yeah.
And the guy was like happy in his 50s, smiling. So I asked him, you know what, like, what's your secret? And he says, gratitude. Gratitude. You know, he says that since he was a boy, his mentor told him, write 3 things that you are grateful about every morning and declare that you're going to have a happy day. And yeah, dream big, but enjoy the moment. Enjoy what you have right now, because the gratitude part tells you should be grateful for what you have already. No matter how bad it is.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. I should do that. No doubt about it. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think, there's so much I have to be thankful for. I mean, I'm, without a doubt. But, it's you feel like you're going to get better at this stuff as you get older, right? To be able to organize your thoughts and, keep everything in perspective, but somehow that doesn't seem to happen. So,
you know what? It helps to actually, I was obsessed with rituals. I went through a life crisis back in 2011 to 2012. For me, was like, I lost the meaning of life, because that's when I reached certain financial wealth, and that I thought that was going to be the answer. So I went into a crisis, right? So I started researching successful people and how they live their life. And that was one of the reasons why I came back to my faith, because one of the main things is, be a man of faith. But then after that is like, have rituals. So since then, I always have rituals, right? Rituals meaning your habits are so important. So for me, I cannot get as busy to have a gratitude moment in the beginning, to close my eyes and to do a prayer meditation saying, Lord, thank you for what I have. Or I cannot be so busy that I don't take time to learn something new every day, even if it's something tiny. And I'm telling you, like, even people that don't have any money, or that live in paycheck to paycheck, for them it's even more important, because the busyness of life cannot be an excuse for you to manage your mental health, right?
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, Ken, like, I had ADHD. Like, I was managing a condition that I didn't know I have.
Yeah. Yeah, that doesn't make things easy. That is for sure. But
right?
Yeah. No, I agree. Rituals are good.
What's in the future for your organization? Talking about a better future. What are your hopes and dreams?
I think one of the things that has always been important to me with our organization is that we are a locally based organization. So, we can implement programs and support youth and communities and health education, mental health, just like any of the big international NGOs, nonprofits can, just like any for-profit company that does work in these areas. We've been able to establish that, I think that credibility and that history and experience. And, we keep our costs way lower than, an organization, some of these organizations that are based in the US that do their work internationally. We only have 10 people in New York City. We have, over 700, scattered throughout the countries. And El Salvador is where our senior staffing is, and our senior leadership. It's where the decisions are made. It's where the money gets spent. And so I think over the next couple of years, because of what we've been able to achieve up until now, we'd like to see how we can make sure that development support and aid is used in the right way, and used mostly to get to the people that they're trying to help, right? So I don't know how much growth that will mean for us, but we've had a lot of growth, so we want to stabilize the growth, and then once we've had that, see if we're able to reach more people. As we stabilize and then reach more people over the next few years, hopefully we can do that.
That's beautiful, Ken. Thank you so much for your time. It's been almost 40 minutes since we started, and I want to be respectful of that. I know you have a lot of things on your back that you're responsible for. I'm going to ask you one last question before we end the podcast, Ken.
Okay.
If you had access to a billboard in front of the busiest highway on earth, what would you write on it?
Oh boy, I think it would be something like make a difference, right? I think everybody and anybody, like it's funny, when the expression "keep up with the Joneses," where they have this, they have that. Do you have it? Do you not have it? Or when you talk about famous actors or people with a lot of money or whatever. I don't get hung up on those sort of things, but when I hear, especially in local communities, how this person or that person spent so much time trying to make a difference and was dedicated, that's where I just go, oh God, what am I doing with my life, right? It's like, so those are the moments. So I think most people do try to make a difference. It's just, you just have to have the determination to truly keep trying at it. So I think that's something along those lines.
It's beautiful. That's how it started. We overthink on how to help out. It's as easy as giving a couple of bucks to a homeless person that doesn't have anything to eat for that day.
Yeah.
Or giving a blanket to somebody that is cold.
Absolutely, without a doubt. Yeah, I love hearing all these stories. Yeah.
We have this process now in my house where every year we look at our closets and everything that we haven't used for more than 6 months, we give it away. So the closets keep getting empty. So it becomes a fountain of giving clothing away to the people that need it. Yeah. It's as simple as that. Like, it doesn't have to be like a huge sacrifice. It just has to be something that is in front of your mind. Because what you just said, make a difference, that's where fulfillment is.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely takes you down that road. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Ken, thank you so much for being in the show. If people like to donate to your cause or find out more about how they can help out with your non-for-profit, where can they find you?
You just glasswing.org, glasswing.org, or look us up on the internet and send us an email, and all the information's there. So thank you very much for this opportunity. I really appreciate it, David, and I wish you the best of luck with everything as well.
Thank you so much, Ken. God bless you and have a beautiful rest of the week.
Okay, you too. Bye-bye.
Yes, bye.
That's all for today's episode of the Break Free Podcast. Head on over to iTunes and subscribe to the show. Starting your own business can be tough, but it doesn't have to be. Visit davidmansilla.com to pick up a copy of the #1 international best-selling book, Breaking Out of Corporate Jail. Expand what you consider to be possible and reach your full potential. And join us on the next episode.